Most of us view getting older with a quiet sense of dread. We assume it's a one-way street toward physical fragility and a slow, inevitable cognitive decline. But during the darkest days of the COVID-19 pandemic, psychological researchers noticed something strange. While younger generations struggled profoundly with the isolation, older adults displayed vastly superior psychological resilience. To understand why, you have to look at how a young brain processes a crisis. For a teenager going through a breakup, the pain feels apocalyptic. It literally feels like the end of the world. That happens because they haven't experienced enough life to know otherwise. Their entire future feels lost because they lack the historical timeline data to prove they can survive a massive emotional hit and eventually recover. Older brains process trauma differently. They have decades of data to draw from, allowing them to integrate novel crises into a massive lived history of survived events. These are cohorts that have navigated intense global friction. They've lived through the complete destruction of cities during devastating global wars. They've endured the crushing stress of sudden financial ruin and deep economic meltdowns, which presents a biological mystery. If the human brain decays as we age, how is it processing this accumulated lifetime of trauma with an increasing sense of positivity and bulletproof resilience? This emotional armor is not a shift in attitude or a vague accumulation of wisdom. It is a highly specific, measurable physiological adaptation driven by a piece of brain tissue that actually grows. Deep inside the brain is the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, or AMCC. Neuroscientists studying superagers, older adults retaining remarkable memory, found a defining physical trait. While the rest of the brain shrinks with age, the AMCC in these individuals maintains size or actively increases. The specific trigger for this growth is friction. This region activates and builds volume when we force ourselves to do difficult, entirely undesirable things. When researchers electrically stimulated this exact area in human subjects, the patients physically braced themselves in their chairs. They reported feeling like a massive storm was coming, accompanied by a sudden, intense urge to lean into the incoming challenge. This lean-in response provides the biological fuel for long-term planning. By setting a goal or striving towards a milestone, you move beyond the present moment and engage the circuitry that envisions and builds a future. Pushing through daily friction hardwires a cellular will to live directly into your neuroanatomy, creating a physical bridge to your future self. The result of this highly developed brain structure is a phenomenon known as the positivity bias. As the brain ages, it actively rewires itself to filter out negative data, deliberately choosing to amplify positive events and information instead. A younger brain is biologically hardwired to do the exact opposite, hyper-focusing on negative threats simply to ensure basic survival. You can see the extreme end of this bias in individuals who have survived some of the most horrific atrocities in human history. In their later years, these survivors frequently display the highest levels of humor, joy, and a total lack of inhibition. They aren't suffering from memory loss, and they aren't ignoring reality. They have undergone a calculated neurological adaptation based on the deep-lived knowledge that they are incredibly hard to kill. After a lifetime of friction and pain, the brain weaponizes its own resilience, allowing the individual to fully savor the simple absence of suffering. We have a modern obsession with extending human life through exhaustive routines, but surviving to a sharp old age doesn't require a strict biohacking protocol or spending hours in the gym. The daily habit of superagers involves organically weaving physical difficulty into their routines, like choosing a commute that requires grinding uphill on a bicycle. They don't subject themselves to this effort with the explicit goal of trying to live forever. They do it because overcoming that small hurdle provides a continuous daily sense of purpose. This requirement extends beyond the physical. It is equally vital for older brains to seek out intellectual friction by actively connecting with younger generations and engaging with entirely novel ideas. True longevity happens when difficulty and purpose are woven so seamlessly into the fabric of your day that they no longer even register as work. You see this intellectual friction in action when octogenarians willingly enroll in rigorous undergraduate classrooms at universities like UCLA, sitting right alongside 20-year-olds.
This intergenerational overlap serves a critical function. It transfers hard-earned, friction-tested wisdom to younger brains that are still trapped in a vacuum of experience. Every failure, breakup, and moment of deep friction you endure today physically fortifies your anterior mid-cingulate cortex. Aging represents the ultimate, beautiful expression of a brain that has finally built the cellular architecture to thrive.